with President Biden trailing Donald Trump in the key battleground states. Some Democratic Senate candidates in tough races are seeing themselves actually outpace the top of the ticket. That means we could potentially see a resurgence here of what's known as split ticket voting. So what is it? Why is it important? Stirewalt here to break it all down.
Oh, I have to tell you why it's important too. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm up to that. It's summer already. Okay, so it's not uncommon for a Senate candidate or a gubernatorial candidate to outpace the presidential nominee of their party in a given state. We know that, right? Donald Trump underperformed a ton of Republican Senate candidates in both 2016 and 2020. This is not unusual. What is unusual is if the Senate candidate and the presidential candidate actually go two different ways. Now, in the long history of split ticket voting in these United States, it was very common about 1968 to about 1988. And since then, it went down and down and down and down. But here's an article that you should look at. It's in the Hill. It's in that Hill that you can read. Senate Democrats outperforming Biden raises possibility of historic split ticket voting. Now, you know I'm skeptical whenever anybody calls something historic or unprecedented because I'm crabby like that. So we're going to take a deeper look. So here's the map of the 2020 Senate races. Here's how it went in 2020. Why does Maine have a golden border around it? Is it because we love the Pine Tree State? Sure, we do. But it's because every other Senate race aligned exactly with the presidential preference at the top of the ticket, except for Susan Collins, who won in Maine, despite the fact that Donald Trump lost by a substantial margin in Maine. So from a time when there used to be more than a dozen splits between the Senate and the presidency, by 2020, we were down to only one, just that one. How's it going this time? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Take a look and see here. This is how the Senate candidates in these races, in an average of recent polling with our partners at Decision Desk HQ, or sometimes at 538, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to emphasize the DDHQ part. And you see there the performance of these Senate candidates in the polls versus Biden. And in every case, they're outperforming Biden. In Ohio, Sherrod Brown is way ahead of Biden's performance. And look, by the end, a lot of this is going to true up. Right? These numbers will come into alignment typically by the time we get to the end. But I would say that given what the Senate map is, and given how poorly Biden is running in some of these states and how this is all working, the possibility for a little rebirth in split ticket voting, which, by the way, is good for the country. I would just say it's good for the country because weird coalitions actually lead to progress. They don't impede progress. They don't impede action. They actually lead to action. Could be good. So we'll keep track of it, and it'll be good. It'll be interesting.
Stirewalt breaks it down.
I did it.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.